GM everyone, and welcome to another episode of FOMO Hour. Today is Wednesday, February 11th, 2026. Folks, it's been a very busy last 12 hours of announcements, crypto, and just broader macro here in the U.S. We had the jobs report this morning. Somehow a surprise major beat, if you can trust the numbers. The El Paso airport had an unprecedented 10-day flight restriction that lasted for about 3 hours and then was lifted just about an hour ago. And then Layer Zero last night, some are calling it the most important blockchain announcement since Ethereum. We'll get into that and a whole lot more on today's show. I've got my good friend Logan here to help me break it all down. Logan, Jim, how you doing?
Hey, good morning, Tyler. Yeah, I'm doing well. It was a throwback day in crypto, it felt like. Getting those Layer Zero headlines, some Robinhood stuff. A nice change of pace that lets you forget about prices a little bit. Anytime we can forget about prices, that's nice.
It's been, during like a little bit of the bear market blues, some of the daily headlines have been a little harder for me to find inspiration to write about. Like, so-and-so bank is adopting it, like ETFs, blah, blah, blah. The Layer Zero stuff was genuinely exciting. So I'm excited to talk about it on today's show. Did you wake up and see this El Paso?
Just briefly, I saw the tweet and then the follow-up tweets that it was shelved, right?
So, like, for some perspective, like this is basically an unprecedented airspace shutdown in the United States. I guess it kind of happened for New York City post 9/11, but as I understand it, this is actually even more. It was more significant than that. And there were some reports that it was tied to like cartels had flown drones across the border from Mexico, and they could not ensure civilian aircraft safety. And that's what sparked it. But then somehow within 3 hours, now we can ensure the safety. So I'm sure more information will trickle out. But I mean, pretty severe response there to shut down for like today. Like they announced a 10-day shutdown, then just totally reversed it. So something's going on, and I don't think we've heard the last of it, to say the least. I think some of the tinfoil hat theories, like DC investor pounding the table, he thinks the Trump administration is going to do something big, drastic to distract from the Epstein files. He thought it was going to be an Iran strike. Now I think it's maybe going to be a Mexican cartel strike. I'm not sure if I'm all the way there, but at the same time, wouldn't necessarily surprise me. So I am glad it's lifted, and perhaps we are not facing an imminent airspace threat in the United States. I am happy about that. Folks, what are we going to talk about on today's show? We actually have kind of a lot. So crypto is selling off for some reason. I don't know why. Stocks were green. Maybe they're reversing. We'll check in on those as well. We're going to go through this Layer Zero announcement in detail, arguably one of the biggest announcements of the decade for blockchains and blockchain tech. Robinhood is also testing out the chain. We'll get into that. We'll talk Robinhood earnings, what it means for crypto, what it means for prediction markets. And the back half of the show, we have our good friend Bread Guy, stopping by. We're going to talk MegaETH Mainnet, what you can do on there, plus a lot more. And of course, we've got our yeet action for today. At the end of the show, we will do our yeet spin. I think it is Weighted Wednesdays, a favorite for those who do log in and play on yeet every week. So the wheel will be weighted based on how much folks have been wagering over on yeet over the past week. So if you want to be included in that next Wednesday, get in there and play. Mando's not here, but I did see him tweet this morning, another record day of yeet action with 10 hours to go. So they've got some folks pumping volume through their platform. You love to see it for Mando and team. With that, I will do my best Mando impression and kick us off with the market report here this morning. Thank you, producer Charlie. But we can just get right into it. I'll take a look at the crypto board here for those in the stream. We are live on Kick and X, of course. Bitcoin, I don't know. Down 4%, 66,150. So we're selling off live. I think I saw this at 68 just maybe 20, 30 minutes ago. So
yeah, I'm seeing wrong screen, Tyler. I think I'm seeing Twitter notifications.
All right, Logan. Thanks for
there was nothing good there anyway.
Good. All right, there we are. Okay, so Bitcoin down 4%, 66,100 ETH down 4.8%, 1925. Solana down 5% at 79.65. So crypto majors down 4 to 5%. So pretty rough sell-off here, though not necessarily a huge surprise. This does come after the jobs report that was arguably the biggest macro data point of the day. There had been a lot of telegraphing ahead of time that this was going to be bad. It was not bad. It was a major beat. Non-farm payrolls up 130K. Consensus was 55. Unemployment at 4.3%. Consensus 4.4%. So it came in under. So pretty wide beat on the jobs report, if you can believe it. And I think that's part of the problem. We've consistently seen these jobs numbers revised down as time goes on. The lookbacks are revising them down. So I think folks are actively expecting that to happen here again. Stocks have flipped negative, it seems. So the NASDAQ opened up around 0.7%. It is now red, but kind of flat. So stocks are flat on the day. Silver's up 4%, gold's up 1%, copper up 1%. So this is really, it's a crypto sell-off, folks. I hate to say it, but once again, that's where we're at. Stocks are flat. Gold, precious metals are up. Crypto's down 4%. State sign of the times here in mid-February 2026. We went through the El Paso shutdown. I'm not really sure if that's having much of a market impact. I think it's really just the jobs report here this morning. And then the other news was the Hood earnings. I do want to get into that. Let me find the tweet here. I shared some of the numbers last night as we got their earnings, but in a nutshell here, I've got it now. Total revenue, $1.28 billion. It was a record for them, but it did miss estimates. So revenue did miss despite 27% year-over-year growth. Earnings per share was a beat. So revenue missed, earnings per share beat. Total platform assets up 68% year-over-year. So overall, pretty decent numbers, but it's a different picture when you get into some of the crypto numbers. So crypto notional volume, 82 billion, up 3% quarter over quarter. Transaction revenue was down 18%. So some crypto flat / declining. Prediction markets up 400% quarter over quarter. So crypto growth stalling, prediction market growth soaring. I think that's kind of in line with what we're seeing broadly across the market. Of course, Q4 was a very rough one for the crypto market. Let's check in on Hood stock here today.
Tough.
15%. Wow. Let's zoom out on this. So where's the last time we were at this level? So we've erased since June 2025.
I think we're back approaching my average cost basis. I did not sell any like a fool.
I mean, even a year ago now. So if you bought on Valentine's Day last year, you bought at 65. And now you're up 15%. So it's a 50% wipeout now from local highs on October 9th. Interestingly, Hood does seem to be trading in line with the crypto markets, right? Like it peaked the day before 10/10 and sold off. I'm curious. Yeah, Logan's like, what are your thoughts? Like, is there a level here where you're buying, or is it too correlated with a crypto portfolio?
Yeah, I've been thinking a little bit about that and its correlation to crypto. Of course, I'm already so exposed in so many different ways. Like, do I want to continue to maintain strong positions in these sort of tangentially related assets that are just, basically tied to what happens to the price of Bitcoin? So I haven't made a move yet, but it's something I've been thinking about. I still see this as a, like the biggest number that stood out to me that, of course, doesn't jive with the stock price is that platform assets number. What was that, like you said, 68% year over year growth? Yeah. 324 billion seems like a lot to me still, and this is anecdotal, Robinhood feels like the place where a lot of young folks are putting their money to work, some for good and for bad, right? Given the prediction market growth. But so that's still kind of the thing that I'm clinging to a little bit as a reason to like not jump off here just yet. And plus because I have been dollar cost averaging into this, which I still am doing. I'm still fortunate. I'm not trading it, of course, but still fortunate to be up on my position despite this massive drawdown. So not doing anything just yet. I did think it was interesting, just the double down on prediction markets. I think Vlad said something about a prediction market super cycle. I might have seen those words. Not sure he actually said that or if that was something I just caught on social media that somebody's making up. But I don't know. It's an interesting period of time. I'm not rushing from it. I'm not rushing to add to it either. I'm just going to continue to kind of layer in, and bring down my averages given the sell off.
Yeah, I've got some more numbers here. So 2025 annual, $4.5 billion. So they're trading at 15x annual revenue here at 68 billion. Net income 1.9 billion. So on net income, they're trading 38x. Net income adjusted EBITDA 2.5 billion. So a few additional numbers there. So I don't know, perhaps still somewhat expensive. I think the prediction market growth will be one to watch.
Yeah. I mean, it does feel like I don't know its correlation with crypto stuff, generally speaking, prior to like this last cycle. Probably somewhat correlated, just given it being a more, at least in my view, a more risky asset, right? And financially, obviously very closely tied to the financial markets, given its brokerage. But it will be interesting to see how that, like the market has almost exclusively put it in that bucket now, alongside crypto, and the prediction market stuff is not going to help that. I don't think. I mean, that probably only further ties it, as I think prediction markets, even though maybe not too much is happening on chain, some of it, of course, but I think prediction markets are seen as like a crypto adjacent phenomenon.
Yeah, but they're going up and to the right.
As crypto does not. Yeah. Yeah.
But that's the difference, right? So like the headline tells it right here. So Robinhood skids on revenue miss amid crypto drag. So they're just tying them together. But if you tie them to the prediction markets instead, you paint a different picture. So it's a little bit of the narrative there. But folks, we got Mando in the house now. Mando, GM, how you doing?
GM guys, how are we doing? Another day.
We're talking about how crypto is down 4%, those stocks are flat, and precious metals are green.
Oh no, I got the tone from Logan's face as I came into the studio.
He's on
the edge, man. Someone needs to go around where Logan lives, I think, and just take him for a nice dinner. Have a little therapy session together. It's not tough. It's tough out there at the moment.
You know what? I can pinpoint it. He's dieting ahead of his wedding. And I know personally, when I'm in food restriction mode, I'm much less happy, and I'm much more angry often as well. So we'll chalk it up to that. Mando, we did a quick run on the market. We didn't go super deep yet. We were just talking hood. I mean, not a ton of big macro news. We talked to jobs, but anything jumping out to you?
No, just that I think that range is, we'll see if it gets even more defined here, which should be the low 60s. That's kind of where I'm looking at. I did buy a bit of hype yesterday. I held off on buying a lot of hype, let me put it that way. Everything, I mean, it's bad out there, guys. Like, if I'll just bring up my trend following stuff, maybe that's a good way to just kind of give an understanding. So Bitcoin broke down again on like the higher time frames. This is what it looks like. It's just like there's no. It just broke down again, even on the like smaller ones. So there's nothing. I go through every single coin that I have, and they've all broken back down on the 1 hour. The only one that didn't was Monero, which I thought was interesting. You know, one's actually held up okay, it looks like, in the sell-off. And then Solana was like attempting one and then just died. Not good. On macro, we stocks are not really moving. Gold is attempting to put in a higher high here. So gold looks the best, and maybe copper, like I was talking about before. I like those two right now. I have to say, tech stocks don't look great. Like, Maine was talking about this yesterday, and it's something that I feel as well. Like, we've kind of broken down, losing slight momentum up here, and I could see a little bit of a dip. I don't know what causes it, but I can see a dip, and I think that could lead to a bit of a sell-off in everything. It's tough to be a buyer in this market. I have to say, like, you're catching a falling knife in pretty much everything at all times. You're kind of just hoping that it feels a bit bottomy rather than like, oh, this is a strong trend which I can get behind. It's like, this has got to be a bottom. I hate buying things like that.
Yeah.
I hate buying things like that because that's how you get absolutely smoked. So I'm going to continue to not partake in this market. The apart from a little bit of hype which I bought, which is basically around here, and then keep hold of my golden Google. But yeah, I have to say that tech stocks do look like they're turning slightly.
Is this the QQQ? Have you pulled that up?
This is QQQ.
Okay. I have a good trading buddy who's short the QQQ. He put it on like 2 or 3 days ago. He thinks it's going lower.
I think it's going. I don't know when. These are the sort of trades where, like, I think it looks like it should go, but it could take many months, you know? So it's one of these ones where I think it can be a painful short. I think it can be a painful short, being short the QQQ.
Yeah.
But it does look like stocks are just, it's not that they look overly terrible. They just look like they're losing steam. That's how I would call stocks right now. The only thing kind of gaining back steam is gold. Like, look at this gold. It went back down to 4,500, and then we didn't really get another shot. It went down to like 4,600, I think, on one of the dips. And now it's just kind of powered back up, and have to say gold looks good.
Yeah.
Does look good. I mean, you could have a situation here where it chops a little bit and then goes up, but gold looks the strongest. Silver looks okay, but definitely gold looks stronger than silver here.
Can we pull up the one big mover in crypto, the Zero token?
Yeah, we can actually.
Which looks like it might be breaking out of a multi-month trend, perhaps.
Yeah, Zero looks good. Zero looks like it's broken out to the upside in pretty much every single time frame. Yeah, looks good. I don't know about that like, do we need more block space? I don't know. I don't feel like that's our problem. Like, I'm not that bullish on L1, so like, I do think this is like an interesting new L1. It's an interesting pivot by that team. And I really like that team. I really like Brian Pellegrino. But it still doesn't fit into my overall investment thesis at the moment, which is just that L1s are a bit challenged. So I think it's interesting. I'm not sure if it will be like the fix. You know what I mean?
I think that's the challenge with it in general. And a few thoughts on the trade, and then maybe I'll pull back to the announcement. I have the same concerns. Like, it's an infra trade. The market seems very tired of infra at the moment. But then so I did enter this just over 2 last night, and kind of what my trigger was, I was just comping it to Mainnet. I was like, this is the same price as Mainnet with all these major backers with this impressive tech on display. Like, that doesn't look right. So that was a part of my thesis. And then just the general price. Folks in the comments are calling it out. Like, clearly the other overhang on this is there are big unlocks. The unlocks have started, But effectively, by the time the chain starts, there's going to be almost 2x as many tokens circulating. So you do have to be aware of that.
I don't think that's the team's fault. Like, you can kind of separate the token from the team. And I think they've done a really good job. Like, interesting pivot here, right? Zero was more like a bridge coin. And they've said, we're going to go down the route of actually doing a full chain. We're going to like almost change the infrastructure of a blockchain in doing it. I think that's a cool thing to do. And then you have to say, like, is the token a great buy? Well, a lot of tokens are not a great buy because of the way that vesting works. And I see Dudas getting some flack on the timeline for talking about Pump Fun over the last 24 hours. That came up on my feed. He was like, "Oh, Pump Fun's such a good investment," and he's like a big holder. And there is a bit of that. It's a bit like, well, maybe this is is time so that investors can get out. Who knows? Make an independent judgment on the coin yourself. But what the team is doing, I think, is interesting. It's interesting.
I'll come back to that because I got a lot of hate in my comments just for simply talking about what the announcement was. And the reply guys are out like, oh, this is obviously like a group who's pumping zero ahead of the unlocks, undisclosed paid shills. Guys, I wish Brian Pellegrino had paid me to post about it. He did not. But so what the actual announcement is, if you did miss this, and their announcement essay is kind of long, but basically Layer Zero unveiling this new Zero L1 blockchain. They're targeting 2 million transactions per second TPS. Put that in perspective, that's 100,000x Ethereum capability and around 500x Solana. They're launching.
What happened to MegaETH?
Well, we've got Brett coming on in 5-10 minutes.
Okay,
tell us all about it.
I'd love to hear like the difference between this and that.
Yeah, I think we'll definitely want to address that with him. The Zero team laying out like 3 primary zones use cases. So they've got general purpose EVM, privacy focused payments, purpose built trading venue. A big part of the announcement was their backers and partners. So Citadel bought some Zero tokens. They're collaborating on trading and settlement. ARK Invest, equity and tokens. Kathy Wood on the advisory board. You can read into that what you will. DTCC is going to explore tokenization on Zero. ICE, which is the New York Exchange parent, stock exchange parent. They're looking at it for trading. Google Cloud, exploring AI agent micropayments. Tether invested as well. So some pretty significant backing there. The way I understand that they're solving the issue, and they demoed it, is that Ethereum basically forces every validator to do the same work, which ensures decentralization and security, but it is inefficient and lowers speed. Solana gets speed by having higher hardware requirements, but leads to less decentralization. And effectively what Zero is doing is enabling like a twofold approach where you can do validation at a smaller scale, effectively using these ZK proofs. So they've got these block producers and block validators that do different things, run on different hardware, which enables decentralization and speed. So it's a big vision. They demoed it. So assuming this does work in the fall, it will be a substantial tech. Folks like Fubar came out. Fubar called it the biggest blockchain announcement since Ethereum. And I do think he's a thought leader that a lot of folks do look to. First team.
If you're saying that, then maybe I should look at it a bit more. Thank you.
First team to actually unlock 100x scaling improvements while preserving decentralization, actually improving it. Bullish on the tech, of course, that doesn't necessarily tie to the token value, which is an unfortunate dilemma that we're facing in 2026. So I did take the trade. I disclosed that. I'm trying to think through where to take it from here because I'm not blind. I see these unlocks. It is hard on paper to hold this trade through to the fall launch, knowing the circulating tokens are almost going to double. So for me, that does make it maybe a little bit more of a short-term trade. Look for another dip for a longer-term entry is kind of how I'm thinking about it. Logie, I've been talking a lot. Curious for your reactions to this.
Yeah. Well, firstly, the essay itself, if you are a blockchain enthusiast or a technologist in any way, you will probably really enjoy it. There are a lot of big words in there, but they're calling this, right, a heterogeneous blockchain, right? Trying to break free from the homogeneous blockchains which have been created thus far. That was the dual purpose that you were talking about, Tyler. So encourage anyone who really loves blockchain architecture to give it a read. A lot of it is above my head and above my pay grade. So I'll have to see it in full when this actually gets out there. But I think the thing that was most interesting to me were the partnerships, Tyler, you mentioned. It's sort of when we've been talking about new blockchain launches, at least from my perspective, I've been talking about who's going to do stuff here. How is like boring institutional money going to get here? And they have that kind of like built in thus far with just these partners that have been announced right away, as you noted. Citadel, ARK Invest, Google. That I think that matters a little bit. It gives it, perhaps not like long-standing success, right? But it just gives it a big leg up to get it off the ground because they all have vested interests in making sure it has some use, hopefully. And that I think that does matter a little bit for the token as well, which is going to empower this entire thing. So yeah, not a lot to add to the conversation that you just shared. I'm eager to see it in practice. That's for sure. It's something I think that definitely warrants paying attention to, once this thing actually gets off the ground.
Token, well said. Thank you. Token's up 40% on the day. Pretty huge jump. It does look to be at a pretty key level. Just eyeballing this, it's basically sold off at this level 3-4 times since the summer unlocks began. So if it's able to get through, we'll see where the next level gets to on this chart. But it looks like we've got our good friend Brett in the studio. Let's get him up here. Brett, GM, how you doing?
What's up, boys? I'm on my little rocker, standing, getting the core workout under my standing desk. We can't be grinding too hard. So
we're in health maxing mode. In the bear market.
It's the bear market, guys. This is what you do. You got to go back to the basics.
Well, it's been a busy week for you. So how are you? How's the team doing? How is morale this week?
Morale's good. Like as good as it can be in like a market that is not especially risk on. It's a gift and a curse right now for us. So for those listening, we obviously launched MegaETH on Monday, or at least opened it. It's been launched for a little while now. And yeah, it's been a juggle, right? Everyone is seeking safe capital deployment right now, even in our chain, like our young chain. They're going lending markets, they're going stable pools, and they're not exactly diving into like the risk on games that we have available, stuff like that. But all in all, sentiment's good. Chain worked. Our dashboard here is pretty comprehensive. So we're proud of what we shipped.
First off, I love the landing page. I love this new trend for chains. I think Abstract kind of did this. I think Mainnet may have as well. But the idea that you have a kind of a one-stop hub where you can launch apps, you figure out bridges, everything from there. So I think good idea.
And noties. You see top right, you have a little notification there. That might be for one of the two things going on right now. Click on that. What are we showing? Yeah. So Netizens minted yesterday, and they minted out. They were like 2.5 over floor price. Nachi's going on right now. That's a guy who's been building in the space for a long time. You see For You page right there. That's specifically to your address. So your address specifically was eligible for these.
Should have been checking my notifications.
Yeah, we're trying to make it so people, because like we know it's going to be a rollout, right? Like it's a young ecosystem, stuff's constantly happening. No one can stay tapped into every ecosystem. So that notification panel is curated specifically to you and then the broader ecosystem.
I lost some money by missing this because that Netizens mint was a nice one yesterday.
Yep. By Shiro, the goat of Ethereum artist.
Well, let's talk about the rollout here and kind of what went into decisions. I'm curious, like, if you were a part of that process, because it seems like you launched with some apps, you perhaps purposely held some apps back for a bit of a staggered rollout. So I'm curious kind of what went into that thought process.
Yeah, I mean, like, listen, it wasn't like intentionally like, oh, we should stagger this because it's the best way to do it. It was, you can't coordinate, 100 teams to all launch in the same day without jeopardizing the actual quality of some of these apps. So we chose a date. We tried to forecast a date. We said, this is the date, guys, come and be ready. You see those 9 apps there. Those are all apps that are ready. There's more that are live, but we featured these guys. And they were ready to go day one. And there were a few that were even trying to push for Monday launch. And man, we've been out testing everyone. You see right around the corner. These are apps that are, days to weeks out. And then there's some that are months or weeks to months out and they're marching forward. So we're trying to just like forecast all that. But for us, right, like our entire thesis is like you need to unlock like net new apps, novel apps. We chose a date. We try to get people coordinate around it. And if it didn't work out, it's fine. Like we want the apps to be the best apps that they can be. And if it required them sitting in the oven a little longer, we just said, do it. We'll market you guys, promote you guys, lift you guys up whenever time is ready.
I like it. I like the staggered rollout. It can be a bit overwhelming, coming day one and seeing 30 apps. To even
still, you want some good ones though, right?
You do. Yeah. You want some, like, you don't want 0.
Yeah.
Like you want greater than 0. Perhaps less than 50. That might be my personal view. And we can come back to some of the apps. I do want to talk a little bit, Brad, about the TGE announcement.
Yeah.
I like the way it went down. Brother Bing coming out saying MegaETH is a token business and tying TGE to KPIs. We knew that MegaETH was going to be KPI centric. I think this was a bit of a surprise tying the TGE to it. I'm curious to hear from you kind of what was involved in picking these TGEs, or how quickly do you see or forecast that they're met? What else do people need to know?
I'm going to see. So I think it's actually, if you go back to the MegaETH page, I don't know where the link is, but it's megaeth.com/ and instead of do token at the top, I believe is the link. We built a KPI page. We didn't actually release it or announce it, but it's there for people to come and I think it's on our actual MegaETH main site. There's a token tab that actually will take you there. There you go.
All right.
So these are the TGEs visualized and demonstrated so people can keep us accountable, see how progress is on anything. And the rationale for this was, man, I think we all can see the market is brutalizing a lot of charts, right? Everyone's going down, nothing's good. So okay, we have this thing that as a token business, we value, right? We think it's something that is worthwhile. We're building our entire entity around it. It would be nonsensical for us to ship this thing out into the world without any of the underlying things tied to it doing well, showing strength, right? Because it's just like the analogy that I use is like throwing a baby into a pool of sharks, right? Everyone's just looking for liquidity. They're going to dump this thing because it can't be used. So we said, okay, we have 2 things that we know the token is going to be used for, or that like we're considering. One was we have our native stablecoin USDM that has rewards associated to it, roughly like 4% that can be gathered. We have already expressed interest in acquiring the Mega token with the proceeds that we get from that. So as the ecosystem continues to grow, TVL climbs into hundreds of millions to hopefully billions. All of the rewards for that can then be flowed back to us acquiring the token. So that's one thing. So we said we want the TVL to actually be a decent level. We've set ourselves for 500 million in stablecoin TVL. That's roughly $20 million a year that we would get. And that's a good basal level floor for us. The other 2 are ecosystem health metrics. And the reason we picked 2 ecosystem metrics, one is just apps being live. The other is fees being generated, showing like actual good economic usage of the chain. Is the other usage for Mega that we have announced is this thing called proximity markets, which is, if you understand the construction of these chains, actually, I don't even want to go into it. If you guys understand Jito makes a lot of money because people pay to like get included better into the Solana blockchain, right? Because as meme coin activity picks up, you want to get close to Jito, you spend Jito, you send bundles, and you make money. That's all derived from ecosystem health. We've basically enshrined a Jito into our chain, and we call it proximity markets, and it'll be denominated Mega. So as these professional entities or even apps want to have the best execution they can on MegaETH, they bid in Mega to get better execution, and all of that, what would traditionally be MEV or priority fees, is basically gone to Mega holders. Like it's a buy demand for it. So we have those 2 like key pillars that we're trying to show had like a basal level of success, so that whenever the token launches, it has usage.
Very interesting. I think I recall you talking about that conceptually one of the last times we got together. This is the analogy where it's like the big hedge funds who are layering their own cable wires to get connected to the stock exchange.
Exactly. Yeah. And because it's the same thing, like if you understand how like base makes a shit ton of money from building blocks. If you understand the micro structure within the blocks, the very first slot in a box or in a block makes up like 95% of all of the revenue that they make. And then 2 through 100 million make up the rest of the 5%. It's just very, very, very valuable to be first for obvious reasons, right? So we are basically making people pay in Mega to be first on the Mega blockchain. And the bigger, more powerful entities are looking to do that. And that for the DeFi ecosystem leads to like tighter spreads, market making, all this stuff, right?
Got it. That all makes sense. I think a couple big things macro events have happened in crypto, in the Ethereum space over the last couple of weeks, which do impact MegaETH. And I'm curious for your reactions. First, we'll start with Vitalik. So Vitalik kind of came out and made his L2 comments, basically saying L2 is perhaps no longer needed. If you're going to build an L2, make sure it has one of these specialties. Yep. I think, of course, a lot of discussion around that. I think you've come out and made some posts. So I'm curious for your reaction to that and what makes MegaETH's response / how does it stack up?
Yeah. I bull posted that because for me it was a validation of the thesis. Because what he effectively said, and the best way I described it inside of internal chats was, right, previous construction was you had Ethereum and then you had Ethereum Plus. Ethereum Plus was like base, Arbitrum, Optimism, whatever, where it's like it's basically Ethereum, but it's a faster, a little cheaper, but not like crazy so, right? And then he came out and basically denounced the Ethereum Plus strategy and said, no, Ethereum is going to be Ethereum Plus. Like Ethereum is going to scale. Ethereum is going to be better, but there's still limits to that, right? Ethereum is not going to be the giga specialized, giga performant thing. Like it will be faster and it will be better, but it won't be the extreme ends of the spectrum. And so what he was saying is like, we will be Ethereum Plus. We think if you're going to build on us, you should either be something like a Lighter, right? Lighter is making very specific trade-offs to be a performant trading venue, right? Or you should be a MegaETH, right? You should do hyper scale and do things that no L1 can do anywhere, which is what we're doing, right? The 3 of the points that I called out specifically that like we actually embody, one was the proximity markets I just talked about. He said stuff to do with MEV and low latency systems. Like that's explicitly what that is. He mentioned enshrined oracles, which we partnered with Chainlink. We have an enshrined oracle within our sequencers so that teams basically get the best execution, or like they don't get any drift in pricing because we front run them with an oracle update so that it's literally transaction and most recent pricing 1-to-1 every single time. And then hyperscale, which is, we just demonstrated on Mainnet. So yeah, I was very excited about it, frankly.
That all makes sense. And my interpretation of it as well, I thought MegaETH was just fine, fit into, one of effectively the exceptions, or like what he laid out that you should focus on. Whereas maybe some others are perhaps not quite as fine. So that was one big announcement. And then yesterday we got the Zero announcement, which is still relatively fresh. Yeah. But curious for your reactions to that. Is MegaETH like kind of front running Zero with respect to speed? Refresh me on MegaETH TPS goals.
Did you see them murk Ethereum in that post? Like they were going after them. They said Ethereum abandoned its principles and lies to everyone on like what it actually represents and all this shit.
I did not.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, I mean, it was a book that they dropped on everyone, but it was like halfway through there that stuck out to me. Yeah. I mean, like I would say it actually dovetails well with what we just talked about, where Vitalik was saying L2s, if they're going to do something, should be hyper specialized and do things that L1s can't. Where like the numbers that they proclaim, legitimately insane, absurd, right? Doing 2 million TPS per zone, like whatever. Now I try to check the numbers a little bit, and like they have been releasing some pretty impressive research papers the last like 6 months, 12 months. And actually even one of them we peer reviewed, like our founders, Yilong and Lei, they peer reviewed one, the QMDB database one, because they're database architects. So that is enough for me to say like tech's probably real. Like they're doing some novel shit. but the vertical that we are specifically going after is not TPS. Like, yes, we're going to need a world where we can do millions of TPS, hundreds of thousands of TPS, if we actually want to like have global adoption. But our specific vertical is in an area that no L1 can ever do. So like for these guys, doing this as an L1 means they're still outside the scope of something that can compete with us, because that's what the real-time moniker is meant to showcase, right? Layer ones, because they have consensus, because they have decentralization, because they have all these nodes, because they do that, they literally cannot operate in a level that is at the threshold that we're operating. That's like the 10 millisecond block times. That's all that shit. They just can't do it. It's a fundamental property of physics. So for me, like, yes, the TPS is really high and impressive, and it's needed, but I'm not worried about it because our edge was never raw TPS, although that is really nice. Our edge is the real-time aspect, and then no one can do that flat out.
Yeah, well, I think that makes sense. Appreciate your thoughts on that. I'm sure we'll see more and more comparisons as the story proliferates here. But of course, we're a little ways away. I think they said fall. So
did they give a date? I saw Andy was saying it would be a fast follow, like imminent.
I believe fall
2026. Not that long, right?
Logan, correct me if I'm wrong on that.
I think I saw that in the announcement too, but
I mean, it's pretty quick for a mainnet, right? I mean,
so you'll have at least an 8-month lead. But like now, zooming back in on MegaETH. So we're all familiar with the market conditions. We show up every day. How are you all thinking about customer acquisition, user acquisition, and growth in a time where it feels like 75% of people have left?
Well, yeah. So it was always the apps. So like apps is always going to be the thing. So honestly, the strategy doesn't change. So whether it's a bull market or a bear market, you need to have differentiation. And differentiation comes from things that appeal to people on the app vertical. So it's still constantly like demoing what we can do and then trying to bring to market net new experiences for people. And we'll continue to roll out apps. And we still have, it's one of our KPIs, right? We have 10 as a minimum apps from within our accelerator we want to have live. We have another 10, 20 behind that, just like within our ecosystem and then within our accelerator. So we'll just keep rolling through stuff, showcasing them, demoing what is different on MegaETH, and then continue to innovate ourselves. I am particularly pilled on the AI world. So like I am doing my best to make sure Mega is a FAFO playground for people who like to experiment with AI. So like I made a developer toolkit so people can just spin up real-time like low latency apps instantly. Like one of our apps that went live, this is just like a side project they're doing. So one of the apps that went live is Ubitel, and you can actually get internet on MegaETH specifically. So like you can get some tokens. Tokens let you get a data plan for 7 days for free. You can try it out anywhere in the world. The team innovated on some TE stuff, which is pretty interesting. But so it has that, and I'm trying to get it to where my Claude bot can, using Mega, get internet for free, like just instantly sign up. So I want people to like be able to come and like set up their Claude bot, get internet, have your text your friends or do whatever, and have that just like all facilitated by the chain. So I just want to experiment. I want people to experiment. I'm going to continue to like facilitate that and help people grow and do stuff. I vibe coded another project. I'm going to launch that here probably in a week or two. All
right.
That is pretty fun, but just, it's crazy what people can do these days. And I don't think people realize like the level of, you can just do things that is unlocked by leaning into some of this AI.
Yeah. So how's your experience been like? Because I think you posted a couple of weeks ago that you had a crash out moment.
Yeah, dude, it's existential.
Yeah.
Yeah. You either ride the lightning or you like abstain, right? So like I'm riding the lightning and like I'm embracing this shit. I want to understand it. I want to like 10x myself, but I feel like we're running towards a cliff, and like it's going to be awesome until it's not awesome.
I don't know. I'm maybe stubbornly optimistic that it's not going to be falling off a cliff, maybe going down into a valley.
Are you playing around at all?
Yeah, I feel like I was a little bit slower. I'm not using AI agents. I think my view on the OpenClaw is that we'll have a more secure way to do it from one of the big players in a couple of weeks. I'm fine waiting until then.
You kind of do with co-work and stuff now.
And like I can do enough personally with Claude AI that I don't necessarily have the use case for the personal assistant just yet. and also just like the pricing concerns. Like, I mean, how much for some of your side projects are you running that all with like the $200 a month plan, or are you running out more? All right.
Yep. Yeah. I now, admittedly, I started off because there's like two ways you can do it. You can do a 200 month plan. You can generate a code doing that, or you can do it by per call through the API on Cloud Code. And I ran up a good bill on that for like a week. And I was like, guys, this is not sustainable. There's no way I can keep doing this. Cause it was a couple $100 of just like burning these fucking tokens. And then I was like, I got to find a way around this. And I think I have like $50 in Kimmy and $50 in ChatGPT. Like I was hooked for like 4 days, just like buying everything like a fucking fiend. But yeah, now it's sustainable. It's good. And honestly, like you mentioned the personal assistant stuff. You don't even need it to like, bro, call the fucking store and have them order bananas for me like that. That's stupid. But like it is actually useful. Like the way that you if you understand what it's actually doing, you are fundamentally limited by how lossy your words are, right? Like if you understand these LLMs, they have a context window, right? The context window is like how much information they can consume and hold on to and then be effective with, right? So like whenever you type, hey man, like I have something to do later, I want to do the thing, can you help me with a website? That's a lot of characters, very lossy. Like the raw data that is taking up a lot of bandwidth for the LLM to ingest and be effective with. And what you do with the Claude bot is you send that to him or it. I call it him because I'm fucking losing my mind.
Yes, you're right in the light.
You send it to Claudebot. Claudebot takes that and goes, oh, and it's a local script. It's all local, so you're not querying any API here. It runs a little local process and says what this person actually needs is this, and then it can communicate with the LLM in a machine language. And the machine language is much more dense, much more dense. So you can contain so much more information in that. So instead of you having very lossy, very soft words to communicate something, it's very dense, code based, like whatever. So you can, because of the additional context you can pack into stuff, the effectiveness of these things goes through the roof. And so, yeah, man, it's super useful. Like I'm literally launching a blockchain project. I don't know how to write code and shit, but like if you do the right stuff, like you can actually get the right information and you can have it like iterate. It's pretty nice.
It is. It feels unlimited. Your power to a degree, with what you can do. Any alpha on your project? Like what type at least? Like what?
It's a speculative one. Yeah. I mean, it's not going to be anything net new, but I'm like, it is something that has been iterated on in the industry, and I'm doing another iteration on it. And like it's, yeah, like it just like accounts for a lot of like recent developments and stuff. So it'll be interesting. I just want people to speculate. Like, bro, it's like, I'm gonna be honest. I ported all my assets, most of my assets over to Mega. It's like, I want to build this thing. I want to realize it and like see what our weak points are. And bro, there's not a lot of assets and stuff. So it's like, I want to do more stuff to do. And the only way to do that is to play on the chain and realize where the gaps are. So I'm doing that. And I'm like trying to like, I want something to speculate on. So I was like, fuck it, I'll make something to speculate on. So I'm doing that. I'm building it, and I want people to realize that they can do it too.
So taking that out a little bit further. So like, MegaETH wants to be AI friendly. So like, what does that mean? Like, how do you actually attract AI builders? Is it like a tool set? Is it marketing?
Yeah. It's a little bit of everything. Like it's one, just making it to where like one of it is just information ingestion for these LLMs, right? So you as a Claude Code user, I want you to be able to point to a single repo and say, go read this, say it's a skill set, which is what I built. And now based on that, you have all the information you need to deploy a smart contract in a low latency way. Like we have some very unique things that we recommend as best practices to build on MegaETH to have the best app that you can, which is different than other ecosystems. So if I can just point you guys to a single file, a GitHub repo, whether it's like the ClaudeBot skills or whatever, and then you guys can instantly deploy an app that is effective and like use it, or is like low latency, is like a good experience. That's great. That's great for me. So like there's that kind of stuff, which is like the tools. And then there's the actual infrastructure stuff. Like we had Ethereum Foundation deploy the 8004 registry on MegaETH on Monday, same time as Mainnet. So that means people can instantly, or not instantly, but it's for like AI agentic service registration for like a reputation system. So you see if there's an agent out there as an example, because I was curious, like what the fuck does that even mean? looking at an example, there's like one that's entire job is like vetting token contracts for whether it's a rug, whatever, right? Which we kind of already have some of that, right? You deck screener and shit do that, but it's an emerging thing, right? It's something that's ever evolving. People come up with different techniques to fuck on you. Like it's bad. So like someone built an agent that's entire job is just to continuously vet token contracts and see if there's any unique exploit to it, whatever. And that's a service that it provides. You pay for it with X402. That's the pay via API system, right? And then it can build up a reputation in this 8004 registry. So like those two things in conjunction means, you know, I can have my agent say, hey, looking at this token, go check it out. He pings this agent, which is very specialized in vetting these tokens to see if something is a rug or not, can get sign off from it, can pay him in a couple bucks. USDM is our native stablecoin. And then if it's looking good, yeet $20,000 into it. Right. So you get like this compounding system that you just want in place, and all that's automated. For us, that's good. We want a lot of transactions. We're cheap at scale, right? We had 50,000 TPS with basically zero fees the other day while we're doing the stress test. So like, you know, we're trying to like continuously just like build on these things because it'll be a fertile ground for people to experiment.
Love to hear it. And really like that vision. Logie, I know you had maybe a question or two for Brett before we wrap this up.
Yeah. Hey, Brad. One thing that I'm thinking about, I love the approach, the hope for novel apps and stuff as an on-chain user. We're all rooting for that. But I'm curious, you know, Ethereum and all the Ethereum related networks out there, you know, tokenization, the institutional adoption, the future of finance. That's the big thing right now. Just curious about MegaETH's plan to, you know, tell the story to institutions, if it's doing so right now. And, you know, in piggybacking onto that trend, if it so chooses to.
Yeah. So I think it's useful. Assets, novel assets is something that we're very interested in. Tyler was showing off our dashboard earlier, and in the rabbit hole, like we didn't do the traditional categories. Like if you want a DEX or a perp DEX or whatever, like those options don't exist as a category. We had categories that were like consumer DeFi, which is Euphoria, which is, you know, the tap game on front of like options protocol on the back end. Same thing with Hit One. Hit One is an app that'll be, it's effectively slots, frankly, on top of a perp protocol. If you go to on the bottom, or scroll to all the bottom, there's an all apps. Click on that. So these are all of our apps. So you see the categories. So one that we're actually interested in, you see is novel assets up at the top. It's like novel assets is a place for people to go to find these net new assets that they can only get on MegaETH. Supernova's one, Caps one. And if you take off the live now, you'll see some that are coming like bricks. So to say that we're interested in, like, am I talking to BlackRock? I mean, I guess technically, because Hello Trade is launched by two guys who actually launched IBIT. Like it's literally the BlackRock guys. But no, we're not talking to BlackRock to do that. But we are doing stuff like BRICS, which is bringing on the Turkish lira for the Turkish lira carry trade, which is one of the biggest institutional carry trades in the entire industry. Like it's the most scalable one that is out there. So those guys are bringing it on and tokenizing it, and we'll plug it into our ecosystem. And those guys are actually, like, we're not the ones having the conversation, but they're talking with a bunch of big banks in Turkey. Like they have a lot of close relationships with them. So they have a competitive advantage. So we're doing it, but like, I wouldn't say and it is a focus for us, novel net new assets, but it's not like we're talking to, you know, the NASDAQ or whatever.
Maybe last question. So what does success look like over the next 3 months? Like we got the KPIs, right? I think we all know that. But like, what will you be happy with 3 months from now? April, May?
I don't like if we haven't April, May, if we haven't hit our KPIs by then, I'll be upset. Yeah, like we're going to be busting our ass to make sure that we, like, this ecosystem has real reasons to come in. Now, there's only so much we can do there with, you know, like I can't launch apps for other people. So like we're at the behest of them actually launching some of their own stuff. But, you know, we're taking this seriously, and, you know, whenever we sit there and we talk and push against a Hyperliquid or a Solana or whatever, we're serious. We want to try to actually grow this thing in a sustainable but also novel way. So yeah, nothing below what we've already set for ourselves.
All right. Well, we'll be rooting you guys on, and congrats on the launch.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
An exciting one, and we'll continue to play around.
Thanks, dudes.
Talk to
Always
you
open if you have questions.
Of course. Thanks for joining us. All right, producer Charlie, I think we're at the end of the show here. Let's go ahead and do our spin. This is our weighted Wednesday. So this will be based on volume, I think, over the last week. So let's get this up here and going. Again, folks, we're not going to do the yeet action today. We're going to have all of our winners from this week back next week for some mega action. Oh, boy. All right, here is our weighted wheel. It's a good day to be green, perhaps, but we'll see how the spin goes. Let's give it a run. All right, let's see. Oh, yeah, the action. You were expected to win 50% of the time, my friend. So you have won. We'll check back in next week for your live action. I want to thank all of our listeners for tuning in today. I want to thank my co-host. Thanks, Brad, as well, for joining us. Folks, we'll be back tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern. Until then, go make it a beautiful day. Goodbye.